Well, hello everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix, and with me, my amazing co-host.
Stefan Frederick is here.
Oh, Stefan. We got Stefan today. He happens to be a medium, an attorney, and my amazing husband and co-host. How awesome is that?
Yes.
And today, Stephen, we have an amazing show. I'm very excited because we are going to be talking to Paul Medeiros, who is the president and CEO of East Seals, Massachusetts. And today's show is about abled differently, living a thriving and fulfilling life. So I'm excited to talk to Paul, who I've met many years ago, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But before then, I need to check in with you and see what are you up to, Stephen?
Well, I have a lot going on,
Yes.
real lot going on. But that's not a surprise, right?
No, but you have one major event. Well, two, because you have a book that's on the verge. So tell people about that.
So I just sent in my final changes and modifications to the amazing guy who's doing the formatting and did the cover and the back of the book, which he just blew me away when he showed me what the end result was. And there was just a couple of things I needed to change, so that's what he's working on. But once that's done, it is going to be ready to be pre-ordered. So I'm really excited about that, and it is going to be coming to a bookstore near you very soon.
Stand near you. What are we, 1980?
You can have book stands too in 2023.
I don't know. I don't see them that often. I think, right now we buy books on Amazon and online. That's how I buy my books.
Well, the e-books are, yes, I mean, that's a biggie, but there are still old school people that like to have the book being held in their hands.
Yeah, I buy them on Amazon. That's a real book. I get a hardcover book on Amazon. That's what I mean. But tell people about your book, because it's just not an ordinary kind of book.
Well, the name of the book is The Suicide Gift, and it is an autobiography, and it just really, I share in this book my story of an 8-year-old boy who lost his dad from suicide, and being gay and losing a dad, and so taking all of that on me, meaning that it was my fault he did that because he knew his son was different. And pretty much just talking in the book about how there's the pre-8-year-old and the post-8-year-old, and the pre-8-year-old just takes off for years and years and years and lets the post-8-year-old boy take over. And that really is so much of the story, because the post-8-year-old boy is not connected to anything. It is chaotic and rebellious, and it just goes on and on until ultimately the pre-8-year-old boy comes back, and there's a struggle between the two of them. But in the sort of process of coming back, his gift is revealed, which is that I can see and speak and hear dead people.
Yeah, and I think that many individuals, myself included, while you may not have experienced a traumatic event like a father committing suicide, I think your story can be a story that we can relate to, because we may have other significant moments where we also experience that separation. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's what the whole point. At every chapter, at the end of every chapter, there is a blurb called Insights, and it really just gives you a summary of the chapter and but some advice, some things to do to connect to spirit. But why I wrote this book was when I started thinking about how was I an adult before knowing the extent of what I had been given, that I can see and speak and hear dead people. How did I not know that for most of my life? And it really is just the journey of how, like you said, Elix, every one of us has different traumatic events, whatever degree they are, and what those events do or can do is that they can just bury our gifts. They can bury our connection to our purpose and our reason why we're here and our passion. And unless you dig through all of that to get to the gift, and that's what the whole book is about, you never find it. You never get to your gift. And every one of us has their own individual gift. So that's what it's about.
I think that alone is worth the read. And you're a little funny. I mean, you are a funny kind of guy. Nothing.
Little?
Yeah.
I'm a big funny.
Yeah. Sometimes. By the way, I do have a story. Stephen.
We should have some music. Steven's story.
Yeah, oh my God, no, because this is crazy, people. So he calls me the other day. Mind you, lately I've been dealing with traumatic experiences, and I'm being sensitive to that. And I'm on the phone with Steven, and all of a sudden he screams bloody murder. Like my heart fell out of my chest. I'm thinking, oh my God, is he okay? I'm on the phone. I'm driving. I could have driven the car off the road, possibly. Okay, and I'm like, are you okay? And then he says, no, there's a bug near me. I'm like, oh my God, there's something really wrong with you. I mean, if you heard the scream, you would have thought something real traumatic just happened. No, it's a bug.
Listen, there's not many things that scare me. Bugs do. It's just, that for 30 years, that. But I was in the bathroom. I got hanging a towel up when I was on the phone with you, and then he just popped out on the floor. But he was I've never seen a bug like this. It was like a combination grasshopper and I don't know, like wasp. So he could hop, but he was able to float higher than the usual grasshopper, hop. And so that way he could just get in different places quickly. And then when I saw that, that's when I just yelled. So.
Yeah, so thank God I'm still here. I'm still alive, and I didn't have a major accident on the road.
Oh yeah, I also have a big event next weekend.
I know. I guess that was next. I wanted to tell people where we're heading next weekend.
Oh my God, I knew that. I must be psychic. So on the 28th of October, which is a week from Saturday, a week from tomorrow, I am going to be doing my event at the Water's Edge Cinema in Provincetown. This is my second year doing it, and it is the first year we did it last year. It was fantastic. I get to do readings on the audience, and then when I'm done, there is a Halloween flick that is played. So, and it's so cool that the owner of the theater lets me pick the movie. The last year I picked Hocus Pocus, and this year it is Witches of Eastwick. So I cannot wait to get to do this. I love doing readings. I love to do gallery readings, and the fact that you can experience the readings and then just sit back and watch a classic like Witches of Eastwick. I think there's a small popcorn that comes with part of the ticket, but it is well worth the price. It's 2:30 in the afternoon, so it doesn't really compete with the nighttime activities of people wanting to really party. So that's why we did it in the afternoon. And I cannot wait. And we're gonna spend the rest of the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in P-Town.
Yeah, I cannot be more excited about that, because that's the end of my birthday celebration. Because I told people I'm celebrating the entire month of August. So
August.
Oh my God, I don't know. Maybe I got spirit going on over here. I forgot my own birthday, October. Jeez Louise. But anyways, Steven, anything else that you want to share with people before we move on to today's program?
I don't think so. Besides the fact that if you haven't checked out our Sunday with Steelix on
Yes.
YouTube, you've
Yes.
got to do that. So you just go to YouTube, type in Steven Medium. It's under my channel, and every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, you listen. I do. It's usually right about an hour, so it is funny. It is informational. It's a combination of me doing readings and
Emotional. This last
Yeah.
Sunday was amazing, emotionally amazing. The readings that you did were, I mean, seriously incredible.
Yeah, and what about what you cooked, what you baked?
I make turnovers and because we went apple picking and they were delicious. I swear, our people watching were like eating them with us. One of them, Joanne, I think was her name, actually was like yelling at me to make sure that I didn't burn them because she felt like she was going to get one turnover, with us. So it's you experience the whole show with us. So it's a fun show. You're definitely gonna laugh. The two of us together. It's a lot of craziness happening, but you get to learn and get some awesome tips in the kitchen, and you get to experience because even get to talk to people and meet people. So how amazing is that?
It is an amazing hour.
Absolutely. So, let's talk about today's show. Today's show is a show that's actually really important to me. It's about able, differently, living a thriving and fulfilling life. It's about really people with disabilities, and for that we are going to welcome a friend, somebody I consider a friend, somebody I met many years ago, Paul Medeiros, who happens to be the president and CEO of East Steeles, Massachusetts. And Stephen, this story is, up close and personal because I did work for East Steeles, Massachusetts a long time ago, nearly 20 years ago. And it was through that experience that I got to learn a whole lot about people with disabilities and understanding people with disabilities and the challenges that they face day in, day out, and really learning to be committed to supporting these individuals in everything that I do. And I got to meet Paul before he was the president and CEO of East Steeles. So I think it's really exciting that he had agreed to join the show, and we get to talk to him and we get to hear about what he's doing today with East Steeles.
I've never met him.
I don't think you have. No,
I don't think I've met Paul. It's kind of ironic, though. You work there from Kirk to Cindy and Joan and the feast. I knew all of them because I went to all the events, and so I was sort of part of the journey too. And I actually did, if you remember, I did like a very brief internship there.
You did.
Yeah, I think it was. I don't know if it was when I was in law school or right before law school. I can't remember.
No, you were in law school. Trust me, you were in law school.
It was great. It's such a incredible organization. So kudos to Paul.
Yeah, kudos to Paul. So when we come back, we are going to talk to Paul Medeiros about the East Steeles organization, the services, the programs that shape people's perceptions while addressing the urgent and evolving needs of a very large community of Americans living with disabilities in this modern world. So we are going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elet. I'm your host, Coach Elet, and with me, my amazing co-host,
Stephen Frederick is here.
Stephen Medium, who is an attorney at Medium, and also my amazing husband. Today, we are incredibly proud to have somebody I consider a friend and a colleague. Met him many years ago. When I worked for East Steeles, Massachusetts, before he became the president and CEO of East Steeles, Massachusetts, Mr. Paul Medeiros. And before I bring Paul in, I wanted to just ask everyone. I don't know if people are aware that one in every 4 people in America have or is living with a disability. And Paul Medeiros, leading the East Steeles organization, and their mission is to provide services to ensure children and adults with disabilities have equal opportunities to live, learn, work, and play. And that is a commitment that we all should applaud. Welcome, Paul. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me, Felix and Stephen. I really appreciate you taking the time.
I appreciate you taking the time. And Paul, I said that I met you many years ago, so we were, I don't know, in kindergarten when we met, in the playground, because I believe it was at least 20 years ago before you were the president and the CEO of East Steeles, Massachusetts. So I feel like I've known you for a long time.
It's so true. You might be on the board of directors at that time. I was an occupational therapist. I just celebrated my 21st anniversary with East Steeles, so you're not online today. It was 20 years ago. And Kirk Joslin, who I heard you mention, was my predecessor. He was always amazing about involving staff and getting the board to meet the staff and get to know people who are out on the front line providing services. So I was lucky enough to meet you at that time.
Yeah, and East Steeles went from an amazing president, Kirk. I happened to work with Kirk. I happened to serve on the board with Kirk, so he's an amazing guy. And then to you, the much young emphasis on younger version of Kirk, but just somebody who has such a commitment to the organization and to the mission of the organization. So, Paul, for listeners, people who are listening to the show, tell them about the organization, what their East Steeles does, because I think we still have a lot of people who are somewhat unclear as to what East Steeles do and what is your role in the organization.
I think you're right, and you nailed the mission, so I appreciate that. You got it right, and I love it. But our mission is very broad, so it can be almost more confusing for people after they hear what our mission is. But there's a reason for that. It's because we work with people with disabilities of all ages, literally from birth up to, we had a 110-year-old woman that we worked with, and we work with them primarily in the community, so we go out to people's homes. We work in, schools, at people's work, skilled nursing facilities, day programs, really anywhere you can think. We're out there in the community making sure that we're getting people the resources and skills they need to meet their goals. And we have a philosophy that it's really important to kind of go where people are doing these activities in order for them to master them, on site, wherever that might be. And just quickly, we have a lot of services, but some of them that we're really well known for are assistive technology. We're the leader in assistive technology in the state of Massachusetts. We have a large therapy program, which I mentioned. I'm an occupational therapist. We also have physical and speech therapists. We do job training and development, including helping people once they get their job to maintain that job, and even work with employers to educate them on accommodations and things like that. And we work with college students. We have a program called College Navigator, which I love. And then one of our newer things, we also work with a lot of recreation and youth leadership programs. And we recently acquired a facility in Bridgewater where we're able to do a lot of recreational programming. We even have horses there. So hopefully we get a chance to talk a little more about that too, because that's a really new, exciting addition to Easter Seals.
You're hearing all the things that are on my list to hit today. So absolutely, we listen. And if we don't, you're gonna make a point of making sure that we do, because I definitely want to learn more about that new initiative. But Paul, let me ask you something. This is work that requires a whole lot of commitment and purpose. Why is this work important to you?
Sure. I mean, I have a personal connection. My aunt has cerebral palsy, and I spent a lot of time as a kid at my grandparents' house, and they cared for my aunt, and I just grew up learning about disability, I think, in a way that a lot of kids don't. It was part of my family, part of my life, and my grandparents, I always say they are certainly ahead of their time in that, they were advocates for my aunt in a time before the ADA, the Americans with Disability Act, and they made sure that she went to school. She was with her peers, and my aunt has a physical disability, but intellectually she was able to keep up with her peers. And again, at a time when she was a child, it was probably believed, she should be institutionalized, she'll never be able to learn, which is just couldn't be further from the truth. And my grandparents saw that, they advocated for her, they found ways for her to communicate and really show who she was. So from a personal standpoint, I grew up in a family that just knew about equal opportunities for people with disabilities and were advocates, a long time ago.
Well, I would actually say that is the exception. That's not the rule. And, many children do not, grow up understanding, what is a disability. So what do you think are some of the most common misconceptions or untruths about people with disabilities?
Yeah, I think one of the things I just mentioned is one of the most common things is just, making assumptions about someone's disability. Because they have a disability, that means X, Y, Z, whatever assumption that they make about all people that they lump together. And everybody is so different. Having worked at Easter Seals, and this is not something I invented here, is that every individual has their own goals, their own needs, and really working with that person to understand what those goals and what accommodations they might need to reach those goals is so important. And too often I think people make generalizations. And then the other big assumption people make, I think, is that all disabilities are visible, which is absolutely not the case. And at Easter Seals we work with people, sure, who maybe someone uses a wheelchair and you can see that they have a disability, but then we work with a lot of people as well who someone might assume they don't have a disability, but they do, and they might need some accommodations as well. So people might make assumptions about that person that they're not trying, or they just don't want to do something when all they need is a little accommodation to make sure that they can keep up and meet all of their goals.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, because we often, when we think of disabilities, we often think of that visible physical disability, but there's many other disabilities that are not visible to the eye, and I think we have to be really responsible and careful for making assumptions, because those assumptions lead to hurting a lot of people that we may not consider or we may not know of their disability. Stephen, I know you're in the background. I don't know if you have any questions for Paul so far. So.
Well, Paul, I just love the fact that when you're just sharing your story and your connection to what you're doing, that it's like you pick up the torch from your grandparent and you're running with it in such a grand way. And I love the fact that back then they were still advocates for your aunt. But for people that have never heard of Easter Seals, even people in Massachusetts, is Easter Seals confined to Massachusetts? And if it is, are there other organizations that Easter Seals works with across the country?
So Easter Seals is a national organization, but we have 70 affiliates across the country. So we're kind of a unique organization in that each affiliate is its own separate nonprofit, but we all share the brand. We kind of share an overarching mission. But the nice thing about it is we have the freedom to serve our communities in a way that's most appropriate. So our territory is all of Massachusetts, so it's very clean. If you live in Massachusetts, we're the Easter Seals for you. But our services might be very different than Easter Seals of New Hampshire or Easter Seals of New York. And again, I think that's a good thing, just because funding is different in different states. And there are, as you said, there may be in our state, there may be a nonprofit who does a really good job at something, but in New Hampshire, there might be a gap that Easter Seals New Hampshire can fill in for. So I think that's an important part of our model, is that each Easter Seal can adapt to the needs in our community. And that's why, Elix mentioned, a lot of people might have heard of Easter Seals, but they don't know what we do. The reason is we're doing a lot of different things than we might have been doing 30 years ago, because the needs in the disability community have changed in the last 5 years, never mind 30 years.
Absolutely, without question. So listen, we are going to take a small break, but we're going to come back. Well, there's three things definitely that I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about Equal Pride, I want to talk to you about the College Navigator, and I want to talk to you about the Bridge Center. So we have a deal?
Perfect, that sounds great.
Awesome. So we're going to take a small break, and when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Paul Medeiros, President and CEO of Easter Seals, Massachusetts. We'll be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get Grip with Coach Les. I'm your host, Coach Les, and with me, my amazing co-host,
Stephen Frederick Matzek.
Stephen the Medium, who is my husband and my amazing co-host. And today we're talking about able differently, empowering people with disabilities to live a thriving and fulfilling life. And for that, we have an expert and somebody who has authority in the subject, Paul Medeiros, who is the president and CEO of ECCOs Massachusetts. Welcome back, Paul.
Thank you.
So, Paul, listen, our producer, during the break, he actually shared something with me, and he has an interesting comment, so I like our producer to jump in. Go ahead, Larry.
Hi there. Hi, Paul.
Hi.
Hi. I was mentioning that I remember as a kid seeing the public service announcements about Easter seals, and you always heard Easter seals, cerebral palsy. And I was saying from the beginning of the show, it's fascinating to hear that there's such a bigger umbrella that your agency is involved with and not just focused on that one disease.
No, that's a great point, and I think that piggybacks on what we talked about in the last segment, where the definition of disability has really changed over the years. Because years ago, I've actually had people say, "I thought Easter seals just works with people with polio," even before that time period. So again, the evolution of Easter seals is ongoing, but also just the evolution of what people realize disability is, where it probably was just thought, "Oh, someone with cerebral palsy, that's who needs Easter seals." But now we realize there's a much larger population who benefits from our services.
Yeah, that is, it really is wonderful, Paul, that you are now, taking on that commitment. Now, I also, one of the things that I noticed is that as an organization, you have an intersection between disability and the LGBTQ community. To take your own organizational words, Paul, why do you believe in celebrating the rich tapestry of identities within the disability and the LGBTQ community?
Yeah, I mean, I think disability is it's a group that crosses every barrier, whether it's age or gender or race or sexuality. People with disabilities are part of every single community, and that's why I think it's important for us to certainly be welcoming to everyone, because I really do believe, like I said, that's kind of our mission here at Easter Seals, is to serve every person with a disability. And if we don't embrace all the different intersectionality of that, we're just doing a disservice to everyone that we work with.
And I applaud you in doing so. What is the partnership between Equal Pride and Easter Seals?
I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I don't know that we have a partnership. Maybe we have informally. Maybe we've done events together and things like that.
Okay. Well, I'm just out of curiosity. If there was a way that you guys had a deeper commitment to be more inclusive of these people with disabilities and the LGBTQ community. But having said that, Paul, let me ask you. Talk about the College Navigator program, because I know that's something that's very meaningful to you. Tell us what that is about.
Sure, that's one of our newer programs that I take a lot of pride in, because it was started since I became CEO. But we saw a gap in young people going off to college who had a disability, and you hear it all the time about kids with disability have an IEP team. They have this whole group of people who work with them on their plan when they're in high school, and then they get to college and they call it the cliff, where they're kind of on their own. And we were just seeing these incredibly high numbers of brilliant students with disabilities going off to college and dropping out, not because they couldn't handle the curriculum, but because they didn't know how to get the accommodations they needed once they were on that college campus. And that's not even necessarily a shortcoming of the college themselves. A lot of them have really great services in place. It's just a matter of, okay, you're in college now, you need access to these things yourself. There's no longer that team who's going to be kind of handing them to you. So we developed the College Navigator program, which is we partner what we call our navigators with a student, and they work with them directly to see, okay, what do you need to be successful? And then they coach them. It's not tutoring. Again, I always say a lot of these kids are smarter than us. We can't tutor them. But what we do is we coach them on how do you talk to your teachers about accommodation? How do you find your disability service group on the campus? Things like that. How do you manage your time? Sometimes the student might be really good at their classwork, but they have trouble with deadlines or organizing their time or something like that because of their disability. So it might just be, could be as little as an hour a week setting up their schedules for the week, or we've had people with a lot more needs who we work with a little more. But it's been an amazingly successful program so far. We started with one student our first year, and I think this year we're going to hit 250 students, which is amazing because these kids are staying in school. I think we saw numbers as high as in the high 60% of students with disabilities were dropping out of college, and with those 250 kids we're working with, we have over a 90% retention rate of those kids staying in school. So it obviously sets them up better for their careers in the future, and just all the life milestones that they'll hit with a little better head of steam because they were able to stick through college, get their degree, and then go on to a career that's going to be fulfilling to them.
That's amazing. Paul, earlier you talked about the assistive technology program. Do you integrate that program with this the College Navigator program?
For sure. Yeah, that's something I'm always stressing. All of our programs need to try to work together as much as possible. It can be hard sometimes. People are in their own lanes, but yes, I think we do a really good job of making sure when a college student has a need for technology that we can refer them over to our experts in the AT program so they can get an evaluation and get the technology they need to be successful.
Yeah, at a personal level, I will tell you, I have a cousin who has a daughter who was born with a disability, and she was unable to speak. And early on, she was from Puerto Rico. Early on, she was told that she was going to have to be in the nursing home for the rest of her life. And she came to Massachusetts. She was connected with Easter Seals in their assistive technology department. And this young kid was set up with a computer device. And today she is thriving. She's in her teens and she's thriving. And that's a perfect example of how dismissive we can be when we make assumptions about individuals with disabilities, and how these programs can actually make such an impactful difference in the lives of these individuals.
I love that story. I love it. And you're right. People talk about an assumption. People think if someone can't talk, they can't think. But that's just not the case. And that's one of the great things about our augmentative communication program in the AT department, is that they just help people find their voice, whether it's through technology or whatever they need to be able to communicate. And then you realize everybody has their own goals. Just because they can't speak it to you doesn't mean that they don't have them.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Stephen, I know you have a question. Go ahead.
Well, it's more of a comment, Paul, because I didn't know about the College Navigator program, and I know that you mentioned it's new. In coming from someone like myself that over 20 years, as an attorney, I worked in juvenile court and represented kids, and have been in countless meetings with educational advocates and IEPs, and just advocating for my clients, the minors. And that was whether I was working with just families, working with DCF. It was always what you just referenced as the cliff. Is that we all knew that we knew that they had some kind of net up until senior year. And just I love what you're doing and the organization's doing. And but I will tell you that even in the statistics you just mentioned, there's even what's missing are the kids that are told there's no net after high school. So kids with disabilities are not even applying or not going forward because they just feel like what they had in high school it is a sort of a net. And again, as an attorney, I when they get 18, I lose them. So this is wow. I'm amazed with it, and I'm just so appreciative of it.
You're right. That's where the gap is. And we try to educate high schools and parent groups for special education parent groups and things like that. But I always say one of our biggest challenges is we have what I think, not biased at all, what I think are amazing programs that people just don't know exist. And getting the word out is the hardest thing for us sometimes. Even we have really cool things out there, and some of them are totally free. And we just sometimes struggle to get people to attend. And then once they do, they say, I wish I knew about this a long time ago. This is exactly what I needed. So yeah, any help like this and getting the word out, I think, will make a difference for people.
Well, and you can count on us to get the word out, because not only are we doing the show live, the show gets converted into a podcast that goes into wherever podcasts are available, and we're also going to convert it into a blog that we distribute across our entire network, and you get to distribute as well. So we are going to do everything possible to continue to spread the word and support you in your mission. But we're going to take another small break because when we come back, I definitely want to talk to you about your new initiative with the Bridge Center and what that is and what it means to the people who can benefit from these programs. So hang in there, Paul. We'll be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back again with Coach Elias. I'm your host, Coach Elias, with me, my amazing co-host, Stephen Needham is here, and today we are talking about able differently, empowering people with disabilities to live a thriving and fulfilling life. And we have the president and CEO of Easter Seals, Massachusetts. Welcome back, Paul Medeiros.
Thank you.
So, Paul, let's talk about the Bridge Center. That is a recent initiative, so I am fascinated with what you've done. So tell our audience, our listeners, what that is all about.
Sure. Yeah, no, this is very exciting. The Bridge Center is a 22-acre campus in Bridgewater, not too far from where you are, and they have been serving people with disabilities, very similar mission to Easter Seals, for over 60 years, and they do it primarily through recreation. So, we do have that play part of our mission, and we started talking just because our missions did overlap about 5 years ago, and then obviously the pandemic hit, which kind of threw a wrench in everyone in the world's plans, but we were able to come together, and then last September, the Bridge Center officially became part of Easter Seals. So it has been really exciting. We did have to start from scratch. They had been shut down for a couple years once the pandemic hit, so there was a little cleanup and renovations to be done, but we now have the campus open. We have 7 horses. We have 2 therapy sheep. And we have a whole variety of recreational programming launching there at the Bridge Center for people with disabilities of all ages, and even veterans. We have a veteran program as well, working with the horses. And then we even have our physical therapy license there now as well. So we're doing hippotherapy, which for anyone who doesn't know is actually physical therapy on horses. So it's just a really cool opportunity. Like I said, the majority of our programs for decades have been out in the community, which I think is very important. But this is one of the first times that we're actually able to bring people to us on campus to do recreational activities or job training or physical therapy. And we're just going to keep adding on because there's just so much potential on the property.
Now, is the Bridge Center open to the general public? Is it, do you have it available for other, like say somebody wants to come in and take a look at what you're doing? How do people in the community can learn more about it?
Sure. So if you go to our website, which is eastersealsma.org, there is a drop-down of our programming, and you can go right to the Bridge Center, and that'll talk about what programs we're providing there and also how to contact us. And we do ask people just to reach out if they're going to come on the campus, just because we do have the animals. We have clients there that we want to be respectful of as well, but we love to show people the campus and get people involved, because this is another thing where, we have all these things we're starting up, but it's just, right now we just need help getting the word out so people know we're there, people know that we're available, and I know everybody's going to love it once they're on the campus. It's just beautiful, and just the things we're doing there are amazing.
Listen, you talked about horses, and did you say sheep?
We have 2 therapy sheep. So we had a woman who raises therapy sheep, and they really are. She brings them into schools and skilled nursing homes. They're trained to not, they're not aggressive like if you go to a petting zoo or something like that, and they kind of attack you for food. They're almost like dogs. They come up to you and they nestle into you, and you can pet them, and they're a great transitional animal for some of the kids who are nervous about horses. Horses are big and they're strong, and they make me a little nervous. And we have all sizes because we have horses for small children, we have horses for adults. But some of the kids, or it's not always kids, but some of the kids might want to spend some time with sheep so they get a little more comfortable, and then maybe they work their way up to a horse. And it's been absolutely fun. And I kind of rolled my eyes when I heard therapy sheep, but I get it now. I'm telling you, they're very well trained.
I love it. Now, I know you had an event moved with me back in the spring. So tell us a little bit about the event, and this is an opportunity, Paul, to share with our listeners how can people support the organization. Are there any other events that people, or a way that they want to volunteer, they want to serve? What do you need, and how can people reach out to you?
Yeah, so the Move With Me event is our kind of community fundraiser. You can consider it like a walk, but we call it our Move With Me because not everyone walks. So we want people to have the opportunity if they want to create a team and dance, or they want to, even people play video games because they use technology to play video games or something like that. However they want to move and however is comfortable for them, we encourage them to do it. And then we have what we do call our final lap, where everybody came together at the Bridge Center, and we have a big track there that everyone who was able to go around and kind of celebrate the completion of their team fundraising and everything like that. So that event takes place in the spring. Coming up next month, though, in November, we do what we call our month of giving, and that's kind of the opportunity for people to donate and support our program. So all through the month, we'll highlight aspects of the live, learn, work, and play in our mission. So each week we'll kind of be dedicated to showing some of the programming that we kind of lump under each of those categories, and it'll give people the opportunity to say, yeah, I want to support the horseback riding program, or I want to support the assistive technology program, and we really appreciate people making donations that way. Definitely you can do that through the website, but I also really encourage people following us on social media, whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram.
What's the handle?
Easter Seals, Massachusetts.
Okay, Easter Seals, Massachusetts. And Paul, what's your website again? Why don't you tell the audience what the website is?
Sure, eastersealsma.org.
eastersealsma.org.
Yep.
Fabulous. Stephen, any last parting words for Paul?
I love the animal element, Paul. It's pretty incredible. It's just bringing it to another level. And I've always been in awe of Easter Seals. I remember the first time I think you and I went to Boston, and
yes.
I was seeing assistive technology. It almost felt like it was at the beginning stages, or I'm sure I'm probably wrong, but it was just getting more exposure, and it blew my mind. It just blew my mind of how the connection with assistive technology and bringing these people that can just benefit from this together was it was incredible.
Yeah, and over the years, being not only somebody who worked for Easter Seals, but later on being a member of the board for Easter Seals, and I think I was a member of the board for, I think 6 years. We went to many activities and fundraisers. So again, it was a great opportunity for me to learn a whole lot about the organization and really understand the real needs of this community. Paul, you should be very, very proud of the work that you do. We're proud of the work that you do. Not for nothing, we love Kirk, but you are definitely the younger and better looking version of Kirk. I'm sure if he's listening, I'll be getting some nasty text or email or Facebook Messenger. But I'm speaking the truth. But no, seriously, the organization is very, very lucky to have somebody like you, and I wish you nothing but incredible success going forward. And thank you again. And Paul, you have an open invitation to come back if there's any other you have an event coming and you want to come back and tell us about the event. This is an open invitation for you to absolutely come back as a guest and have a discussion with our listeners about Easter Seals and the services that you provide for this disability community. So thank you again for joining us, Paul. We appreciate you a whole lot.
Thank you. And just very quickly, actually, next Friday, we're having a trunk or treat at the Bridge Center at 4:30. So if people want to come, there's an accessible trick-or-treating basically on the campus. So you can find information about that online as well. But I just want to throw that in quickly.
Absolutely awesome. So next Friday, trunk or treat at the Bridge Center in Bridgewater, Massachusetts?
Bridgewater, 470 Pine Street.
Beautiful. There you have it, everyone. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate you. Appreciate everything you do, and we look forward to having you again here.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And with that said, Stephen, here we are at the end of our show. I mean, this was fascinating, and I've done a lot of work for Easter Seals, but listening to Paul and listening to what they do, it's you just learn so much, and just fascinated by the commitment and the passion and purpose that they live day in, day out. What do you think?
Yeah, I remember seeing that when I was introduced to, as I mentioned, with Kirk, and it just the dedication, and it is not an easy position. It's not an easy job in Easter Seals, and thank God for Paul and Kirk and everyone else that works there, or has worked there, or will work there too.
Yeah, absolutely. Kudos and a shout out to the entire organization. And I know that there's many people that we met years ago that are still in the organization. So the work that they do, really, it's driven by purpose. And you and I talk about there's nothing else that should lead the way. Purpose.
Right.
So Stephen, once again, how can people get a hold of you?
StephenTheMedium.com or Stephen the Medium anywhere on social media.
And quickly, next Saturday, the 28th, you're going to be
in B-Town at WARA Edge Cinema. So if you're around, come see me, and also be on the lookout for my book that is coming soon.
Beautiful. And how can they get tickets for the WARA Edge event?
You can go right to my website, StephenTheMedium.com, and then you can be linked right over to WARA's Edge Cinema, or you can just type in WARA Edge Cinema, and you can get tickets through their website.
Beautiful. And for me, if you are not following me on social media, you can look me up at Coach Lex anywhere, whether Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. And just a secret before we close, among us, in 2 weeks, we have a very special birthday, Stephen. We're not going to say much more than that, but
keep it quiet.
We're going to keep it quiet, so don't tell anyone. Our producer is going to be celebrating his birthday on November 4th, so we won't say anything until then. But everyone, thank you for listening, and thank you for everything that you do. And we won't be here next week because we are going to be away, but we will be here the following week. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend.
Bye-bye.